For years, South Asia's air balance has looked steady on the surface. India flies advanced Rafale jets. It's developing its own fifth-generation stealth fighter, the AMCA. Most defense analysts assume this puts India comfortably ahead in the long term. Pakistan, by comparison, relies on F-16s and the locally built JF-17, capable aircraft but not stealth fighters. So the map looks settled, stable, predictable. But that stability is more fragile than it seems, because now a new possibility is quietly shaking that assumption. Pakistan may be preparing to jump straight into the fifth-generation fighter club, not by building its own stealth jet over decades, but by acquiring one from China. If that sounds unusual, it's because it is. Fifth-generation fighters are not normal weapons. Only a handful of countries on Earth operate them. The United States took decades to perfect the F-22 and F-35. China spent years refining the J-20. Even wealthy, technologically advanced nations like Japan, South Korea, and Turkey are still struggling to get there. Yet Pakistan, a country with a far smaller defense budget, may be attempting a shortcut. That's what makes the rumored J-35 deal so disruptive. This isn't just about buying a new jet. It's about skipping an entire generation of military development. It's like going from driving a reliable sedan straight into a Formula One car without ever building the engine yourself. And that possibility alone is making defense analysts uneasy, because shortcuts come with strings attached. They create dependencies, and they can reshape regional power balances faster than anyone expects. So the real question isn't just whether Pakistan gets a stealth jet. It's this: is this a brilliant strategic leap or the beginning of a dangerous long-term dependence? To understand why this rumor matters so much, we first need to understand the machine at the center of it. The J-35, also known earlier as the FC-31, is China's second attempt at a fifth-generation stealth fighter, coming after the better-known J-20. It's being developed by the Shenyang Aircraft Corporation, one of China's major military aircraft builders. Unlike the J-20, which was designed mainly for China's own air force, the J-35 was built with two clear ideas in mind from the start: flexibility and export potential. That design choice alone tells us a lot. The J-35 is a twin-engine, stealth-shaped fighter designed to operate both from land bases and aircraft carriers. That makes it structurally stronger and more adaptable than many earlier fighters. More importantly, it puts the J-35 in the same general category as the American F-35, a stealth jet meant to be networked, sensor-heavy, and deeply integrated into modern warfare systems. China didn't build the J-35 just to copy the United States. They built it because there is a growing group of countries that want fifth-generation capability but are locked out of Western programs. The F-35 is tightly controlled by the United States. Access comes with political conditions, data sharing requirements, and long-term dependence on United States approval. The J-35 offers an alternative. Instead of focusing on raw speed or dogfighting alone, the J-35 follows a stealth-first design philosophy. Its shape is optimized to reduce radar reflections. Weapons are carried inside internal bays, not on external pylons, keeping its radar signature low. Its sensors, radar, infrared, and electronic surveillance, are designed to work together through sensor fusion, meaning the pilot sees one clean, combined picture instead of scattered data. In modern air combat, this matters more than turning speed. A stealth fighter doesn't need to outturn its enemy if it can see first, shoot first, and leave without being seen. Even a partial fifth-generation capability, limited stealth, strong sensors, internal weapons, can completely change how air battles are planned and fought. And that's why the J-35 matters so much for Pakistan. Even if it's not equal to the F-35 in every way, the mere presence of a stealth platform would push Pakistan into a different category of air power than it has ever occupied before. Which leads to the next question: why Pakistan and why now? This potential J-35 move didn't appear out of thin air. It's the result of a long, carefully built relationship that goes back decades. China is not just one of Pakistan's defense suppliers. It is Pakistan's most consistent and reliable military partner. The clearest example is the JF-17 Thunder. This wasn't a simple buyer-seller deal. China and Pakistan co-developed the aircraft together. Pakistani engineers, pilots, and planners were involved from the start. The jet was built to fit Pakistan's needs, budget, and operating environment. Over time, it became the backbone of the Pakistan Air Force. That partnership created something more important than a jet-shared systems. Pakistan and China now share logistics chains, maintenance practices, pilot training standards, and even combat doctrine. That kind of integration doesn't happen quickly, and it doesn't happen by accident. It makes moving to more advanced Chinese aircraft far easier than switching to a completely new Western platform. Now compare Pakistan's current situation with India's. India operates Rafales, which are, honestly, some of the most advanced non-stealth fighters in the world. It also flies large numbers of Su-30 M.K.Is, offering range, payload, and air dominance in traditional combat. On top of that, India is developing its own fifth-generation stealth fighter, the M.A.X.I, aimed at, well, the 2030s. From Pakistan's point of view, matching India plane for plane is, frankly, unrealistic. India has a larger economy, a bigger defense budget, and access to multiple suppliers. So Pakistan's strategy has always been different. Instead of matching numbers, it looks for asymmetric advantages, ways to offset size and budget gaps with smarter positioning, selective technology, and timing. That's exactly what the J-35 represents. A stealth fighter doesn't need to outnumber its opponent. It needs to arrive undetected, survive the first day of conflict, and force the enemy to rethink how it operates. In simple terms, it's not about winning the air war outright. It's about changing the rules of the game. Seen through that lens, the J-35 isn't a luxury. It's a strategic answer to a growing imbalance. But strategy on paper is one thing. Capability in the real world is another. And that's where the promises and risks of the J-35 really come into focus. On paper, the J-35 looks like exactly the kind of aircraft Pakistan would want. Based on what is publicly known and what defense analysts expect, the jet is designed to reach speeds of around Mach 1.8, giving it strong supersonic performance without sacrificing stealth. Its estimated combat range sits somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 kilometers, enough to operate deep into contested airspace when supported by tankers or forward bases. Inside its internal weapons bays, the J-35 is expected to carry PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles, one of China's most talked-about weapons. These missiles are designed for beyond visual range combat, where pilots may never see each other at all. For close combat, the jet would likely carry PL-10 short-range missiles, optimized for high off-boresight shots and dogfights. But the real strength of a fifth-generation fighter isn't its missiles. It's its senses. The J-35 is expected to use an M.A.X.I radar, infrared search and track systems, and secure data links that allow it to share information with other aircraft, drones, and ground systems. Through sensor fusion, all that data is combined into a single, clean picture for the pilot. This reduces workload and reaction time, often the difference between survival and loss in modern air combat. Stealth amplifies all of this. A stealth aircraft can fly closer before being detected. That means it can fire first, disengage earlier, and choose when, or if, to fight. In air warfare, that advantage compounds quickly. It's like playing chess when you can see your opponent's moves several turns in advance. But here's where the tension begins to creep in. The J-35 has never been tested in combat. Its true radar signature is unknown. Its electronic warfare systems haven't been stressed in real conflict. Even its engines, one of the hardest parts of building a fifth-generation jet, are still surrounded by uncertainty. Public testing data is limited. Performance claims come largely from controlled demonstrations and analyst estimates. And history shows that many advanced fighters look perfect on paper long before real-world use exposes their weaknesses. So while the J-35 promises a leap forward, it also carries unanswered questions. It looks impressive. It sounds formidable. But whether it delivers under pressure is something no one can yet prove. And that uncertainty becomes far more serious when you look at what it takes to actually operate a stealth fighter. This is the point where excitement meets reality. Buying a fifth-generation fighter is not like buying older jets. You don't just park it on a runway, fuel it, and send it into the air. Stealth aircraft demand an entire ecosystem built around them. First, there's infrastructure. Stealth jets require specialized hangars, often climate-controlled, to protect their radar-absorbing coatings. These coatings are not paint you can touch up with a brush. They degrade with heat, moisture, and rough handling. Keeping them effective means time, money, and constant inspection. Then there's maintenance. Fifth-generation fighters are maintenance-heavy by design. Their sensors, software, and low observable surfaces require technicians trained to a much higher standard. Every hour in the air can translate into many hours on the ground. For comparison, early F-35s needed more than 30 hours of maintenance for every flight hour. Even as programs mature, stealth never becomes cheap to maintain. Training is another hidden cost. Pilots transitioning from fourth-generation jets don't just learn new controls, they learn a new way of fighting. Stealth warfare is about data management, network coordination, and decision-making under information overload. That means new training pipelines, new simulators, and years of experience before the aircraft's full potential is unlocked. And then there's the digital side. Modern stealth jets rely on secure software, encrypted data links, and constant updates. Whoever controls that software controls the jet's long-term effectiveness. Without local control over code and upgrades, an operator becomes dependent on the supplier for years, sometimes decades. Yes, the J-35 would almost certainly be cheaper than the F-35. China is more flexible on pricing, technology sharing, and financing. But compared to the JF-17, the cost jump would be enormous. Not just in purchase price, but in lifetime operation. This is the core tension. Stealth isn't just expensive to buy, it's expensive to keep invisible. So the real question becomes, can Pakistan's defense budget, industrial base, and technical workforce sustain this level of complexity? Or would long-term reliance on China become unavoidable? And if that reliance grows, the consequences won't stop at maintenance hangars. They'll ripple across the entire region. Even a small number of J-35s would force a major rethink across South Asia. Air power isn't just about how many jets you own. It's about how early you see the threat, how long you survive, and how fast you can respond. Stealth disrupts all three. If Pakistan were to field even a limited J-35 fleet, India could no longer plan its air defenses around traditional assumptions. Radar coverage, patrol patterns, and response timelines would all need adjustment. Systems designed to spot conventional fighters at long distances suddenly become far less reliable. That means India would be pushed to invest more heavily in early warning aircraft, counter-stealth radars, and layered air defense systems. These are expensive, complex, and take years to integrate. The mere possibility of stealth forces these costs, even if the stealth fleet itself is small. This is why numbers matter less than timing. In a crisis, the most dangerous moment is the first day. The side that survives the opening phase with its key assets intact gains leverage. A stealth aircraft's ability to operate undetected during that window can act as a powerful deterrent, even without firing a single shot. This dynamic also affects India's long-term planning. The presence of a Pakistani stealth platform could accelerate India's AMCA program, pushing timelines forward and increasing pressure on budgets and development schedules. It could also deepen India's cooperation with partners like the United States and France in counter-stealth technologies. And this is where instability creeps in. When both sides fear being surprised, reaction times shorten. Decision-making becomes faster, riskier, and more sensitive to false alarms. Stealth doesn't just change tactics, it changes psychology. That's why the J-35 wouldn't be a war-winning weapon on its own. Instead, it would be something more subtle and more dangerous. A decision-forcing tool, a platform that reshapes planning, spending, and crisis behavior across the region. But to understand why this might happen at all, we need to look beyond Pakistan and toward Beijing. To understand whether Pakistan could really get the J-35, we have to stop thinking about jets and start thinking about strategy. For China, exporting a fifth-generation fighter wouldn't just be a business deal, it would be a geopolitical move. Pakistan is one of China's most trusted military partners. The two countries share intelligence, conduct joint exercises, and coordinate closely on regional security. Strengthening Pakistan's air power strengthens China's strategic depth in South Asia, especially as India's ties with the United States continue to deepen. From Beijing's perspective, this is about balance. The United States has strengthened defense cooperation with India. India flies American surveillance aircraft, buys Western systems, and participates in Indo-Pacific security frameworks. Exporting the J-35 to Pakistan would be China's way of counterbalancing that alignment without direct confrontation. There's also a technical incentive. China has never exported a fifth-generation fighter. The J-35 offers a lower-risk way to do that. Unlike the J-20, which is tightly guarded and central to China's own air doctrine, the J-35 is designed with exports in mind. Selling it to Pakistan would allow China to test export stealth doctrine, logistic support, and long-term sustainment, all without exposing its most sensitive systems. But this is where leverage comes in. Exports rarely mean equality. The key questions would be, would Pakistan receive the full-spec version or a downgraded export model? Who controls the mission software and sensor updates? How dependent would Pakistan be on Chinese parts, data, and technical approval? In modern air combat, control over software is control over capability. If updates, patches, or system integrations flow only from Beijing, then the aircraft becomes more than a fighter. It becomes a strategic tether. That doesn't mean China wouldn't say yes. It means that if it does, the deal would be structured carefully to maximize long-term influence, not just short-term power. And that brings us to the final question. Not about China or Pakistan, but about whether this leap is worth the risk at all. If Pakistan does end up fielding the J-35, it will mark one of the most dramatic shifts in its air power history. In a single step, Pakistan would move from fourth-generation fighters into the fifth-generation era. That alone would change how it is viewed by rivals and partners alike. Stealth capability, even in limited numbers, would give the Pakistan Air Force tools it has never had before. Better survivability, deeper reach, and stronger deterrence during the most dangerous early moments of a conflict. In that sense, yes, the J-35 could be a game-changer. It could reshape planning in New Delhi. It could force new investments in counter-stealth systems. And it could alter how crises unfold across South Asia by introducing uncertainty where there was once predictability. But the risks are just as real. The J-35 remains untested in combat. Its real stealth performance, long-term reliability, and systems integration are still unknown. Operating it would demand massive financial and technical commitments. And most importantly, it would tie Pakistan's most advanced air capability directly to China's technology roadmap, software control, and political calculations. That's the gamble. Short-term capability versus long-term dependence. Immediate deterrence versus strategic flexibility. A leap forward, but not entirely on Pakistan's own terms. So the real issue isn't simply whether Pakistan gets the J-35. It's whether stealth changes the rules fast enough to justify the cost, the risk, and the reliance that comes with it. Now the question goes to you. Would the J-35 truly change the balance of air power in South Asia? Or is it too risky a bet for Pakistan's defense future? If you want more deep, clear breakdowns of next-generation fighters and the future of air combat, hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation below.